Welcome to the show where we unearth new ways of looking at ever-evolving life around the world, seen from a number of different industries, cultures, and backgrounds. But there's one thing that unites everyone I speak to. They all want to do their part to make the world better in their own unique ways. It's a uniting passion. Whether they're from the commercial world, third sector, or public sector, from the global north or the global south, my name is Philippa White, and welcome to TIE Unearthed. Hello, and welcome to episode 39 of TIE Unearthed. Today, I'm talking with Maria Gonzalez, a Guatemalan biologist who has been the executive director of the Mesoamerican Reef Fund, or the MAR Fund, since 2005. Now, reef systems around the world are under threat. And the MAR system, or the Mesoamerican Reef System, the biggest coral reef system in the Atlantic, is no different. It's home to some of the world's most stunning coastline and vibrant waters, with an astonishing array of over 500 known fish species, some of the largest remaining population of manatees and sea turtles, possibly the largest known aggregation of whale sharks, and valuable concentrations of mangroves, seagrass, and coral, of which there are 66 species of spiny coral alone. But the challenges are great, and thankfully we have the MAR Fund, which is a regional environmental fund established to support conservation efforts specifically in the MAR Ecoregion. Its mission is to drive regional funding and partnerships for the conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of resources in the region. Now, TIE and the MAR Fund, we've worked together in the past, and I'm excited to say we're working together again in early 2022. And this project is specifically fascinating because it's a way to bring business and environmental conservation together. Now, Maria will bring all of this to life on this chat, so sit back, relax, and here is Maria. Hello, Maria. It's so lovely to have you with us on TIE Unearthed. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Philippa. It's great to be here.
It's lovely to have you. So to kick off, as I always like to do this with our podcasts, perhaps you can just tell our listeners a little bit more about you, the work you do, and the story of how and why MAR Fund was set up.
Okay, sure. Well, I am a Guatemalan biologist by training. I'm actually a wildlife manager working inland in terrestrial initiatives. And now I am working in coastal and marine issues, but I'll tell you about that. I work now for the Mesoamerican Reef Fund, which is a regional environmental fund. Yeah. And it was established to support conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of the Mesoamerican Reef, which is shared by 4 countries, Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras. And we focus on different issues, protected areas, coastal and marine protected areas, fisheries, climate change through restoration of coral reefs and mangrove conservation, and solid and liquid waste, which is a big threat to the reef. And we operate through different channels of funding for key initiatives in the region.
Okay. And how long has the MAR Fund been around? When was it founded?
This is our 16th year of operation. It was actually funded by 4 pre-existing environmental funds, 1 from each country. And it has been very good, working with them, getting us started and operational.
So tell us a little bit before we get more into MAR Fund. Perhaps you can just tell us a little bit more about you. So what did you do before MAR Fund? You're a Guatemalan biologist. So tell us just a little bit about your story.
I studied wildlife management in Costa Rica and returned to Guatemala. And initially I worked for the recently created Protected Areas Council for Guatemala when I had just returned. And there I helped set up, develop the first red list for the country. I worked on the initial hunting law and system for the country, targeting locals that actually require hunting. They use that as a source of protein. That was the main target. Yeah. And then I worked to move for a local research organization that worked on the Pacific coast of Guatemala, protecting mangroves there and wetlands, a very important, beautiful wetland. I worked in Tikal National Park in the north, in the jungles of the Maya Biosphere Reserve for several years. And then I became involved with the first environmental fund in Guatemala, also a private fund. And being there, this was the Guatemalan fund that now is part of the Mesoamerican Reef Fund. So while being there with the other funds from the other three countries of the Mesoamerican Reef, we created the MAR Fund. So yes, we created that. And then for different reasons, I left the Guatemalan fund. And then after that, I was asked to begin structuring the operation of the Mesoamerican Reef Fund, and I stayed. Fantastic. So I've been there since the beginning, yes.
Wow. So you have been around for the 16 years, essentially, that...
Before that, right? Since we were planning and structuring it. Yes. Yes.
How exciting. Wow. And you're talking to us right now from Guatemala. You're based in Guatemala.
Actually not.
No.
No. The MAR Fund office, the coordinating office, is based in Guatemala. Yeah. I live in Bogota, Colombia.
Oh, wow. Yes. Okay, that's right, actually, because when we were organizing the time difference, I remember you saying Bogota. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Perhaps you can tell us and our listeners about the challenges that you face in that part of the world that perhaps our listeners may not know, and what is the reality on the ground, obviously with regards to the work that you specifically do.
Okay, then let me begin just by saying that this part of the world is very important. It has the largest barrier reef in the Atlantic Ocean, and it is the largest transboundary reef, right, shared by 4 countries. And that is already one of the first challenges, right? Working across 4 countries, 2 languages, just, different cultures, different histories, political systems. That is a challenge. But I think in the past years, it has been very rewarding to see that it actually operates as a region. People interact in that coastal and marine space across the countries, and they learn from each other. And I think that is one of the great things, especially because, as with all coral reefs worldwide, there are many threats to these reefs, right? Things like sewage and solid waste, right? All the impact that is coming from inland into the water that affects the reefs directly. That is really a big threat. And in different parts of the Mesoamerican Reef, that comes from different sources. So let's say in northern Honduras, it comes from agriculture, right? Some of it that is right by the coast. Further north in Mexico, in Quintana Roo, you have tourism, right? Large tourism development. And that also creates contamination that affects the reefs. Other issues are like overfishing. That is a big aspect too. Or coastal development that is not well planned is also a big threat. And then the overarching threat is climate change. Yeah. And that exacerbates all the other threats. And climate change means bleaching of coral reefs, and they can die from that. It means ocean acidification, and then you have trouble structuring the reefs. They can't hold that structure, that calcium structure. Stronger and more frequent storms. All these are impacts of climate change. So these are the big challenges in how to approach them, working with local communities, working with the local governments to face these challenges and begin to put solutions in place.
Yeah. Do you have reach to be able to get to all of those different challenges?
What MAR Fund does is we support establishing relationships and alliances, and we raise funding that then we channel to local actors on the ground. So we're a second level mechanism. Yeah. And we work, with fantastic partners that do amazing work on the ground. Okay. And so we try to, let's say, protected area managers and co-managers. So we fund governments when they operate a protected area directly, or a co-manager, which is something that in Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras, legislation allows NGOs to co-manage protected areas in agreement with the government authorities. In Mexico, it's done directly by the federal or state governments. But, we work with all of them and try to provide support for the activities they need to develop to strengthen the resilience of the protected areas, to work with local communities to participate in the management.
Yeah.
So it depends on the initiative, the different actors and stakeholders we can reach, but we definitely do not work alone, right?
Of course.
We also work with other initiatives that are regional in the Mesoamerican Reef. And there are two that are fantastic. I think the Mesoamerican Reef is the only area of coral reefs that has an initiative that measures the health of the reef periodically and puts out a report card and lets us know how the reef is doing. So we have that historic information since 2008, which is fantastic. They are the Healthy Reefs for Healthy People initiative. Mm-hmm. And there's also a regional initiative called the Mesoamerican Reef Leadership Program, and they focus on building human capital. So many leaders from the 4 countries, they receive leadership skills, they learn how to develop projects, they focus on different key strategic topics for the region and develop projects on those initiatives and then carry them out. So, we'll liaise with them for different projects and different initiatives and try to work together and just try to help move processes along.
Yeah. Well, as mentioned, we have worked together in the past, and I have fond memories of that project. It was, super impactful for the individual who was involved. And I just wonder, perhaps you can tell our listeners just about your experience to date with TIE, and just what are some stories that stand out with regards to just the impact of working with us and that experience?
It was extremely helpful and supportive. When we worked with TIE, the expert that came to provide support is Will Wells. He's a communications expert. And he put together a communication strategy. And this was very important for several reasons, right? Communication, as you mentioned earlier, is so very important. And many times in the day-to-day, trying to raise funding, put out funding, follow up on projects, help grantees, etc., communication sort of was relegated because it was not something, we didn't have any in-house experts for communication. And he helped us put in perspective the very big importance of communication. So we are still implementing the strategy that he put together.
Wow.
And it has been great. We have a person now on the staff that does communication. We're following the strategy. All the elements that he indicated have been so useful. Of course, things have grown out from that.
Yes.
It has evolved a bit. Our website, which he restructured, has grown also because, there are new initiatives in place and things keep, have moved a bit. But he provided that, and it has just been great. And the way we structure our communications now are based on what he provided. And we're just so very grateful for all he helped us do.
I'm so happy to hear that. I mean, for our listeners to understand, Will was involved before COVID. So this was actually a while ago. This was about 5 years ago. Would I be right in thinking about
4 or 5 years ago?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this was when TIE primarily only worked with immersive experiences. So Will physically went to Guatemala City, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Based in your head office. He did travel a bit, so I know that was a huge highlight. I think he went to Belize, I think. I can't remember where he went, but anyway, he definitely... Or Honduras, yeah. So he went and saw some other of your projects in other parts of the region. For him, I know that it was hugely impactful just having that exposure and being able to... And he's a biologist, I think. He studied biology, if I'm not mistaken.
He initially studied something regarding biology.
He was working in an advertising agency when he went, and it was the agency that sponsored him to do this. But it basically was a chance for him to bring these two worlds together of having the marine biology knowledge and experience, but actually being able to use his leadership and be able to kind of drive what you do from a communications point of view forward. TIE has since evolved because obviously with COVID, borders were not open. We couldn't send people. Corporates also couldn't actually get involved because obviously their focus was elsewhere. Leadership development wasn't a huge focus. It was more just surviving like a lot of us. And so we very quickly had to pivot. When everything started shutting down, we did then start to get emails from a number of different organizations around the world saying, are you guys still working? We really need help. We need help pivoting, etc. And so very quickly we realized, oh my goodness, we need to figure out a way to keep doing what we do virtually. Fast forward to sort of about 6-7 months later, we created Thai Accelerator and also a corporate Team Thai initiative, which is being able to do similar work that Will did with you, but now it's a group of professionals coming together virtually, but to work directly with the organization to be able to crack a challenge. And so I'm super excited to say that we are going to be working again with the MAR Fund, which is very, very exciting. In hopefully early next year is our plan. And I'm really excited because, this is an opportunity, I think also in the wake of COP26. And I just think that there's just so much going on around the world. We know that people are keen to break out of their silos, broaden their horizons, just get access to just worlds outside of their immediate circle of people and just knowledge and be able to break out of that. And obviously Thai is a way to do that by bringing these issues, very real issues, together with professionals that can use their leadership to not only impact that organization, but also grow as a result. So we are going to be working together. And I just wonder, in light of this sort of spiel that I've just sort of given our listeners, and to just also help you, I think, because I think you've spoken to Uli, you know that we have evolved. It is obviously different, so you won't have anyone physically there. But actually, we have learned it's so powerful because you have this team of people together, these incredible minds, that they're super keen to really understand what is going on in your region and then how they can use what they know, draw on all of the information that they have access to be able to help really make something a success. And I'm super excited about this project because it is necessary. It can really impact the region. It's sustainability at its core. And it's actually bringing these two worlds together of business and the environment. So I just wonder, can you bring to life this brief for our listeners, for them to understand how you're hoping to help and then what you hope to get from Thai?
Sure. And thank you. We are very excited about this opportunity of working again with the support of Thai. So what we are trying to put together, and this is another challenge in the region, right? Funding. Funding is a big challenge for conservation. The Mesoamerican Reef, even though you speak to different funders and they recognize the importance of the reef, the fact that it goes across 4 countries, it's a large place, important economically for the people that depend on the reef's resources, we don't have many funders focusing on the Mesoamerican Reef. And that has been a challenge to raise those funds that are required. And one of the sources of funding for conservation is the private sector. How do we attract the private sector to the region? How do we develop market initiatives that have a positive impact on the coastal and marine resources that generate revenue? It can therefore attract that private sector. And that is the big challenge that we are trying to focus on now. And what we want to develop and establish is what we would call a Mesoamerican Reef Technical Assistance Facility to support market initiatives or initiatives in the region that have market potential to develop. So they are a pipeline. There can be a pipeline of ready to invest projects. And the issue is, how do we design this Mesoamerican Reef Technical Assistance Facility? How do we continue to fund it? Just how do we develop it so it serves that purpose of developing the projects that can attract that capital. We are at the moment working in alliance with different actors to try to establish a blended finance mechanism in the region, right? To bring, like you said, to 2 sectors, the conservation sector and the finance sector that do not speak the same language. How do we bridge those gaps and bring them together and see where, the finance sector, how can they see where those possibilities are, where the opportunities are, and the conservation sector to think in market terms, right? So we can actually bring these solutions. And the idea is to think about the solutions that, again, can have a positive impact on the Mesoamerican Reef and create a market revenue. So just to think, some of the initiatives that we're thinking can be seaweed cultivation, right? These have positive impacts on the ecosystems, and they can have, market returns. So what do you need to develop and foster in those that are doing these initiatives in the region to attract that capital? Blue carbon is another possibility as a market. So these are the types of things that we want to think about and establish. And, we're very excited about it. We know there are many challenges, but this is what we want to develop.
So if I'm not mistaken, this project will be helping to create the system and helping you build the sort of business model, if I'm not mistaken, for this to work. So you have ideas of what the types of organizations or companies would be, the sustainable businesses. So you know the types of sustainable businesses. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's sort of seed capital to kind of start this process. And then the TIE project would be a group of people coming in and working with you to basically create what this could look like. Am I right in thinking?
Well, we are currently developing a proposal within this alliance to begin this process of the pilot activities and developing them, yes. But because it's all like happening at the same time, right?
Yeah.
We want to think of how the Mesoamerican Reef Technical Assistance Facility, which is part of this whole system, is just one part, and that's the part that would be hosted within MAR Fund. How can we structure it so that it can continue to raise funding to develop the initiatives that can then attract the private capital?
Okay, so that technical assistance facility is a financial model. Is that right?
That facility would look or scope for new projects and provide the support that they need to be financially viable.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So they're financially viable as market initiatives.
Okay, and you're looking for help because this facility doesn't exist yet. You're still in the process of creating that. And it's basically at the very early stages that this team would come together and put their brains together with you and your team to sort of see, okay, how does this look? What does this look like? It's at that stage. Yeah.
How do we make it sustainable? Yeah. What do we need to think about? How will it operate? Yeah. And we're working with other partners to create the blended finance facility in the region, of which MAR TAFE would be one element.
Yeah, really exciting.
The thing is, yes, well, we're really excited. We have found that there just isn't this system in the region, right? There are impact investors that have come and have asked, can you provide ready to invest projects? No, we don't have any of those in the region. They still require some support and development support. So we need to put all these elements together, and one of them is the technical assistance facility.
Yeah, exciting. I just did a podcast actually with a friend of mine who has created a refillable glass bottle initiative. And one thing that came out of the conversation, she said, for change to actually happen on a grand scale, it's now come to the point of it's not, it's how business is done that is going to make the change. It's how business is done. It's not making these little changes, and it's how you actually do the business, what is done. That's where change is made. And what's exciting is really in this region, that's what needs to happen. Is it, businesses that are in that region, the fundamental core needs to be how those businesses are done is going to be how that change is made. And that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
And businesses that have ultimately a positive impact.
Yes, of course.
Right?
Exactly.
So that they actually use the resources sustainably, they recover resources, they restore resources. If that can happen, and that can, we believe there is huge potential for that. Yes. But we need to bring all those elements together. Yes. And again, there are no ready businesses, right? That isn't occurring. So we have to try them out.
Create the market. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's exciting. Now tell me, because there's just, when you work in an environmental cause, there's just a lot going on, particularly now. And I just wonder, also in the light of COP26, what keeps you up at night worrying? But then what also gives you hope?
Climate change keeps me up at night worrying, right? This is the big overall umbrella threat for a coral reef region. And, it's frustrating. There's not enough change at the political level. You see that, it's slow. You don't know when action is going to take, if it's going to be fast enough. So what gives me hope is that the Mesoamerican Reef has is actually a resilient reef, right? There are many good things about the reef that provide hope and maybe more time to put good practices in place. So, there are amazing reefs in a very good, healthy situation. Reefs in this part of the Caribbean, the Western Caribbean, have more live coral cover than the rest of the wider Caribbean, right? So we have reef areas that have over 60% live coral cover. That is fantastic, right? Reefs that weren't known before, that have been discovered in the past 5 or 6 years, that are thriving. And it's just wonderful news to have. And so I think that gives me hope. Plus the fact that there is a very large number of people, of organizations, of NGOs, of government organizations that are working together, of academia that are all coming together to solve problems, right? To go beyond what is expected, to protect areas, to work on restoration and recovery. Just the fact that there are so many people in the region doing that gives me hope.
Because I ask everybody this question, and it's just really interesting just hearing the different challenges in so many different parts around the world. But like you say, there is so much happening. It needs to be faster, there needs to be more that's going on, but there is stuff happening. And I think if everyone does their bit, and if everyone is aware of what's going on, and if everyone does their bit, then I do believe that makes so much change. And tell me, who does inspire you?
Many people in the region. There are many women that inspire me. There are amazing women that are managers or directors of protected areas, and the work they do to fundraise, to reach out, to involve communities, to educate, to get in the water and restore reefs after a hurricane. It is truly inspiring. And then in working with local communities, the projects they put together to create new smaller businesses in tourism and just different activities. We have, as part of the MAR Fund work and in response to projects, for example, funded by KfW, which is currently the largest funder in the Mesoamerican Reef, we've developed a couple of books going to the protected areas and the stakeholders, and it's their story, right? Them telling us what they're seeing and the changes, and that is so inspiring, how they are committed in the local communities, and how women are, just focusing on what the possibilities are. They recognize the importance of the resources that, of their children, of making sure their children have a home in the future. And this just changes the way they work, obviously. Yeah. They are so engaged, and that I find very inspiring.
You've given me goosebumps. Now, we're coming to the end of our podcast, but I'd love you to just tell our listeners, what are you working on at the moment that you think that they would find interesting, or what haven't I asked you that you would like to talk about?
Well, in addition to this blended finance mechanism and the technical assistance facility, we can develop and establish. One very interesting thing we have been working on is parametric insurance to cover the cost of reef restoration after a hurricane. This is something that, it's been developed with the support of several funders that have been very generous, right, to support the initiative. So currently, there are insurance policies for 4 sites in the Mesoamerican Reef, and we hope to purchase more next year for additional sites. And for this, we are working with a fantastic partner. They are Willis Towers Watson, and that have designed this insurance mechanism. And this has implied working also with different partners at government level and community level and protected areas level to develop and create that governance structure of people that, when there is an event, can get into the water and carry out that emergency response. Wow. So that is another, I find, very exciting initiative that we're working on.
And hasn't existed before.
Well, TNC a couple of years ago put out that an initial insurance model for Quintana Roo, and we've sort of worked based on that, taking it more towards pure parametric in terms of the insurance, and expanded it to the Mesoamerican Reef. And now we're working to expand that to the wider Caribbean. and working in the insular Caribbean. We think this is something that can be done in all coral reef areas. Reefs are the first line of defense for a hurricane, right?
Yes.
That's the first line you have. So you need to have that reef strengthened. After a hurricane, of course, it's going to be damaged. So then you need to make sure it recovers as fast as possible so it can continue to be that defense.
Yes.
And that's the idea. And then reefs, of course, protect the coast, but then they provide food security, right? You need to have reefs for fisheries, etc., for tourism, for income. So they're very important in those terms. And the idea is that you recover those services as fast as possible. And for that, you need to go in and put, hands underwater to do that restoration.
Wow. Just because our listeners and I do not have this type of knowledge, just very quickly, in as simple terms as possible, what would that kind of restoration look like? What do you do?
After an event, and when you can get in the water, it's safe to get in the water, it's important first to clean out the debris, right? Many times, you have things coming into the water from the mainland, tires, refrigerators, big things that are washed out in a storm. That continues to bump around and damage the reef. So you need to clean up the debris. Part of that debris can be broken off coral. So when it's possible, that broken up coral has to be cemented back, right? You just cement it back to generate that structure again and to have it be able to grow back. So that is what is done. Some colonies are just like tipped over a bit. You need to stabilize them, and some are cemented back. And that is the work that those brigades that are underwater do. We supported that emergency response after hurricanes last year in Mexico, in one protected area called Puerto Morelos. And they, cemented back over 5,000 fragments. They stabilized over 8,000 corals. And that returns that original structure. That helps for that, that coral reef to recover again. Yeah. So that is very important to get those hands underwater.
And how long does that, how long is a piece of string? I'm aware that it varies, but roughly the last restoration that took place, how long did something like that take?
They carried that out within 3 weeks.
Wow.
3 weeks, people diving all day, underwater all day. Yes.
Wow. Maria, it has been such a pleasure to have you with us. It's an incredible window into such important work, and really excited to be supporting you and the MAR Fund. Next year, we will confirm exactly when that will be, but it will be happening. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Felipe. It's been great, and it's great to work with you. And thank you for letting us share what we're doing.
Great. Until next time.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Hey everyone, this is Philippa again. I hope you enjoyed listening. Now this is your chance to get involved with TIE. If you work in the commercial world, whatever your profession, your position, or your experience, then TIE could be for you. You may have been in business for decades, but have always felt there's another way. Or you may just have a few years experience, but want to do more. Equally, if you want to create game-changing employees and see your company impact the world, we've got you covered. TIE has never been more necessary than right now, and you can be a part of it. Reach out to me at philippa@theinternationalexchange.co.uk and I can tell you more. Or join the TIE Accelerator info session for more information. apply.tieaccelerator.com. Better leaders, better companies, better world. I'm your host, Philippa White. This podcast has been co-produced by Berna Vieira and me, music by Berna Vieira, and artwork by Kelps Vahais. I hope we'll meet again soon.